Hello, everybody, and welcome to superheroes, super villains, super people, super beings, DC and Marvel, comic book characters as through the lens of MBTI. Well, when I started on this MBTI crap, when I didn't believe in this stuff, the I found that looking at examples is going to be helpful to figure out, for example, all right, so what kind of villain is Ra's al Ghul, and what kind is our favorite Harley Quinn. What are these guys going to be? So yeah, I've already done the Ninja Turtles according to MBTI, because looking at examples is going to be helpful to figure out what each of these things represent and everything. And I have seen on different, I'm using comic book resources here as my primary this thing. Yeah, I've seen Superman being typed as a sensory feelery dude. And so today we're going to start the series by talking about the biggest, the most famous, the first superhero of them all. Drumroll, please. Yeah, no big surprise here. It says so in the title. We're going to talk about Superman, but we are also going to focus more on... There's been so many kinds of... so different versions of Superman, starting from Elseworlds to, regular mainstream stuff. This is all the Superman swag I have. So yeah, starting from Kal, the medieval knight kind of Superman. He was never a knight. He was never nobility. This is Superman from the Nail. This is Superman from the Civil War. There's also, Frank Miller had this wonderful genius idea to question, if Superman is the most powerful man in the world, why is he not married to Wonder Woman instead of Lois Lane? And we're going to talk about that. Because today we're going to focus on Superman, Clark Kent, the friend of Metropolis SCU, the guy who has statues built about him, but also the man inside the man. Why are we what is Superman? What is so here we got he is an alien, obviously from a different planet, living as an outsider in our world. And all he really wants to be is accepted by people. And over here we have a version of... Yeah, so depending on who you ask, Superman is sometimes going to be somebody's villain, somebody's hero, somebody's cheating classmate from high school. So this is this guy called Conduit, who went to school with Superman, and he blames Superman for having cheated on every athletic race ever. And but he's also Superman. He's also very helpful and driven by duty. And so once again, let's just talk about one other version of Superman before we get into regular Arver's Clark Kent. This is Ultraman from Earth 3, the worst possible version of Superman, I guess. Or you could say that the worst possible version of Superman is himself, actually. This is from the mainstream comics after he's fought Maxima. And he's like, thank you, Maxima, for showing me what I don't want to be, because, this is the version of myself that I would have been. So here he is, gone all Kryptonian, and he's like, for a long time, it's like... he just calls his ma and pa Jonathan and Martha, and he's really objective, and he's like, I have simply reached a stage in my life where I have shed the emotional cocoon of humanity and advanced to my proper station in life as a true son of Krypton. So now, to type him, and here we have the version of Superman that was raised by Darkseid. So we're going to look at Clark Kent, and we're going to go through these assumptions of, like, what is he really? What is he really? And we're going to refer to, like, way back when in the first ever. So this is Superman from the first issue itself. Daring old Superman who can only jump tall buildings and stuff. Where's Clark in this? I need to see Clark as well to compare. So we're gonna consider Clark to be the real version of Superman. A friend of mine also pointed out how, while Superman's clothes are all vibrant and bright and, colorful, Clark Kent is always dressed in duller colors. It could either be brown, it could either be gray. You usually see Clark in a lot of grays and browns. So the interesting thing about all superheroes really is that they have secret identities, dual lives. And this could be traced back to Mort Weisinger's time spent in the war zone and then trying to reacclimatize into suburban civilization and all, civilized humanity, whatever. So there was a series of Golden Age comics that was in the 50s. Now this is in 1938. So one side of Superman is it's very funny how this is a random page and we got two panels exactly the same. So yeah, so we got Clarky Boy being all the all he wants is, like, Clark is basically a version of Superman where, it's the values instilled in him by the Kents that really makes him who he is, in my point of view at least. Because in all these other versions, he was raised by different people. He was raised by, even in The Nail, he was raised by Amish people, and he ends up being adopted by the Kents at the end of the story. If Darkseid had raised him, I still haven't read the comic, so I'll get back to you when I've read the comic. But he is considered a J. According to CBR, it's ISFJ, but I would say that he's more of an extrovert, the Superman side of him. But we're going to focus on Clark and talk about why he chooses to work at a desk, and he really wants to prove himself, compared to two of his best friends, Wonder Woman and Bruce. Here he is arguing that unlike you guys, we really some of us actually have jobs, we have bills to pay and stuff. And I'm like, really, Clark? You're Superman. You don't even need food. You don't need electricity. You don't need water. You don't need anything. You can basically live off of air. You don't need money to survive in this world. And if you did, really, you would become Ultraman. And so really, Clark, what's going on? He just wants to be accepted because he is an outsider. And so in the Myers-Briggs thing, there's actually an important, in typology, there's an important question that you should ask, called the human needs. So what are the human needs? Here's a little quick Google search about the human needs. Right? So this is not the human needs. All right, so you got Maslow's hierarchy and everything. And depending on where you are in this chart, they say that, let's take INTP, for example. Now, for a long time, I thought that I was an INTP, and what I realized was, for a while, I thought that my battle was actually in, so it says I need to ponder over here, that sort of thing. Superman. All right, so Superman, Clark, we're going to divide them into two things. Dual identity, with Superman being the front and Clark Kent being the real guy. We are going to say, yes, Superman is indeed an ESFJ or whatever. He's very concerned about society and the well-being of every other person on the planet. Not necessarily because he... all right, so maybe he's a P, but I would consider that a J quality, a tribe quality, plus he's very extroverted when he wants to be, as shown in. So we're gonna use this piece of evidence right here. Superman helping out engineers and architects, or civil servants, rebuild the world after a lot of destruction. We're going to use that as his J qualities instilled by the Kents on the farm and everything. So that's very Clark Kent as well. But Clark Kent hiding behind the glasses, wearing dull colors, doing a menial job. He's trying to get people to accept him as an outsider, as an alien to this planet. He's trying to get people to accept that, even without his powers, he still has something to contribute and he is still of value. He wants to leave his mark on the world. He wants to... Also, because he's Superman, he is able to see a lot of things that we don't see. He is... So this is Superman with a bunch of colorful blobs in the background. Why? Because he's Superman. He does not need to. All right, so there's scientists, and then there's hippie gurus or whatever. Superman is the kind of person who doesn't need evidence as proof to show that physics works and all these things, because Lex Luthor at one point receives Superman's powers. He steals a potion that Superman prepared to give Lois, so that Lois could, for a fraction of a second or a minute or an hour, for a few hours or whatever, could experience what the world looks like to Superman. And Lex Luthor steals it, but then Superman's like, I wanted you to steal it so that you could see. And then he takes it for a minute or something, and then he says, I can see all the things that are going on between the atoms and the radiation and the all the stuff that scientists are trying to prove. Superman knows these things by default, by being Superman, and he's very intuitive in that way. You could still argue that it's his sensory that picks up all the intuitive stuff, but if a normal person were to talk to Superman, and if he really got into his TI and his N, there would be a lot of intuition and maybe still feeling. So I mean, Superman could be anything from INFJ to ESFJ to, but then if you take the ESFJ set, Frank James recently did something called the families of something. So basically he explained it as considering the functions, he would flip the first letter of, so basically ENTP and INTP would share the same cognitive functions with their complete opposites, ISFJ and ESFJ. So basically flipping those letters around, but you would have ENTP would have extroverted intuition lead and introverted sensing last. And ISFJ would have introverted sensing first and extroverted intuition last, like, a complete flip. So if you consider ESFJ, ISFJ, and INTP and ENTP as a family, then I would agree with comic book resources arguing that according to Superman, like, they make a huge case of why Superman is an ISFJ. He wants everything controlled, and his extroverted feeling is probably what makes him a tribe person, and he's definitely a J because he cares about other people. But does he care about other people for himself, or does he care about other people for the tribe? He does care about Earth. Like, he chooses to live on Earth as a person who doesn't have to be on Earth, or as a refugee who needs Earth. And what would Earth be without all the humans in it? So maybe he does really care about humans in selfish ways or non-selfish ways, we don't know. So yeah, I would agree that Superman himself is an ISFJ, which would make Clark Kent the alter ego. If you flip it completely inside out, I want to say that Clark Kent is more intuitive, and even he's got some introverted thinking. Like, by default, if you're an ISFJ, you got FE toward, actually you got FE and TI in the middle slots. So quite balanced, right? And there's also this thing about the animals where, when your extroverted observer and your extroverted decider, so 1 and 3rd slots, when those two come together, you have this state called play. Now, so you could consider Superman being the play state of somebody, and you could consider Clark Kent being the blast state or the sleep state of somebody. So Superman is the consume or play state of the same person, and then Clark Kent is the sleep or blast state of the same person. Being an ISFJ, by default, you would have, assuming he's a regular, run-of-the-mill ISFJ, IJ, all IJs are supposed to have blast in the front, consumer last, and sleep second, and play third. So it would actually be pretty simple for an IJ to flip between their sleep state and their sleep state and their consumer state. Their sleep state and their play state. So you could argue that Superman at play is a very colorful ISFJ, and Superman at his sleep is a dull, glasses wearing, I want to just sit behind my desk and still work really fast at the typewriter, but takes his time and runs through delays on his deadline and stuff. So you could argue that, so you don't have to change the person into an INTP. The opposite of an ISFJ would sort of be an INTP, I guess. Just not the opposite, but just a little bit. And I don't know enough to talk about these things at all, but you could consider, all right, so let's say Superman is an ISFJ, right? But that doesn't mean that he's lacking in intuition and thinking. So you could just consider him sleep state. And also they say, Superman's been done and redone so many times, like limitless potential. The same character has been done over and over. That's how I should have started this video, That's an important line that I should have said early on. This is a character that we're just taking one character for this entire video instead of going into the entire Avengers team or entire Justice League team. because Superman is just so rich in, and I still haven't covered him in 15 minutes because 20 minutes because, I'm just that slow and dumb. But yeah, so I hope you got that. And if you want to add on to this thing, please do. And please, for the sake of Superman and Clark Kent, we need to redeem this guy of just, he's more complicated than just being one type or one state or whatever. He's fighting really, really hard, and he wants us to accept him. So I mean, look at this. This is from the Suicide Slum story. This is a really good story, by the way. But yeah, so that's it for now.